Hey guys, my name is Dan, and this is Stout Gaming. This week we are back in the GLDL, and coming back in with more serious gameplay again, now that the VBA has wrapped up and I'm down to my preferred 2 leagues at the same time. I feel like I can fully devote my time to it, so I did a bit more prep this week than I have the past few weeks for this league. So, looking at my opponent's team, the Alluring Alchemies, played by Snake King, I believe that's how he wants his name pronounced. His team seemed really soft to Azumarill, and looking at this start, I've seen nothing to dissuade that. I want Arcanine in the back in case he goes with this Scizor, but Azumarill beats a lot of his Dragapult, Terrakion, Shenanigan leads, especially because I can max Starfall and ignore the threat of the Maractus switching in. Arcanine looks pretty good into a lot of his other stuff, and Crocodile in the back seems solid. So this looks like a pretty decent game plan for me. If he does lead Scizor next to something, I'm going to assume he's going to go for the KO on the Indeedee, which is possible. So what I will want to do in that case is to protect Indeedee and switch in Arcanine, but otherwise it's probably going to just be a straight max on the Azumarill and go in pretty hard from that point. So yeah, let's go ahead and pop into the battle and see what's going on. He's got the all-yellow suit, not generally a big fan of that outfit, so minus points there. But I see the Cofagrigus and the Scizor, so he went into a pretty hard form of Trick Room Denial, it looks like. I'm okay if he ends up setting Trick Room for me, because Azumarill's actually going to function a bit better under it, even though it doesn't need it. But here, switching in the Arcanine seems like the correct move, and then neither of these things can really damage the Arcanine to the point that I'm scared of it. If he tries to Will-O-Wisp the Azumarill, it won't affect the Arcanine. So it just seems correct for me to go into Arcanine here. And then the Indeedee, I could consider a Expanding Force, but Protect is a pretty easy call because Scizor does have the opportunity to, well, not KO it because Focus Sash, take it down to Sash. And if this Cofagrigus launches an attack into it, that's a position I don't want to be in. So I'm going to bring back the Azumarill, and Arcanine ends up coming out. So Arcanine launches its Intimidates. This Scizor is going to, Indeedee's going to protect, and then the Scizor will be attacking into it, and the Cofagrigus protects. So this is pretty ideal. I basically get an Intimidate off, I get Arcanine in for free against his team, and this feels decent for me, because Arcanine will KO this Scizor. And although it's not the fastest Arcanine in the world, it should outspeed basically every Scizor that isn't Scarfed. And I don't know if he's Scarfed or not. But thinking about potential switch-ins, a Terrakion switch-in seems pretty decent here. So Expanding Force gets some chip on the Cofagrigus, and then if the Terrakion comes in, it will pick up the KO on the Terrakion. And that's the play here. And he does switch in the Terrakion, but for the Cofagrigus, which is not exactly what I expected, but not entirely unwelcome either, because this is just going to be a double KO for me. And now I'm going to have some opportunities to think about different ways to approach this game. Like, it feels pretty much locked up for me at this point. Arcanine KOing the Scizor, Indeedee getting the Terrakion, and then he's going to have Cofagrigus in the back, which is not going to be an offensive threat and do anything that I brought. And then something next to it that I've got to be a little worried about. And it is going to be that Dragapult, which is a bit disconcerting, but long term, I think with what he's brought, it's likely to be a physical Dragapult, so burning it isn't a horrible option. And I know even if he takes something out here with it, if he's able to grind something down, it does just lose to the Azumarill. Especially if I'm able to max the Azumarill in clean. But here, I sort of think he's going to send a Dragon Attack into Indeedee, because he's not going to want to have Shadow Ball or any other Ghost type moves redirected into it. And then that way, the Arcanine doesn't seem like much of a threat to it. So this is sort of a weird call on my point. Probably not correct, but if he does Max Wormwind that slot, it will pay off for me. So it's, like I said, it's a weird play. It's a call out based on what I think he's going to be doing. If he Max Ghosts that slot, like if he makes the call, then suddenly I'm in a weird position where I need the Will-O-Wisp to hit to allow Krook to do what I need it to do. But he does Wormwind that slot. Will-O-Wisp will go up on the Dragapult. The Cofagrigus is going to launch a Shadow Ball. It's not going to do a lot into this Arcanine. The Dragapult is burned, and I think we're in pretty safe here. Snarl just for some chip damage seems good, and then a Max Starfall into the Dragapult. Even if he does Wormwind into the Arcanine at -1, there's probably a decent chance after chip that it takes it down. And if not, it definitely puts it in range for a few other things, which I am completely okay with. So Max Azumarill comes on out. And this just seems pretty clean for me at this point. He does Wormwind into the Arcanine, so he will lower the attack on the Azumarill, which is a nice play. But burned, obviously, it's not doing a lot of damage, so I've confirmed that it's physical now. My attack falls. Snarl comes out. It'll lower the special attack on the Cofagrigus. Not the Dragapult though, but the Dragapult reveals that it is weakness policy, so that's something I have to play around in the future. Weakness policy seems weird because Azumarill usually just kills it, and anything else on my team that can trigger weakness policy also comes close to killing it. -1, I get the KO there, but it was a crit. I don't know if that crit mattered, and if it did matter, it would just be for differential. Like, this game was pretty much wrapped up for me at this point. But, now you're going to see him stall this Cofagrigus out for turns. I talked to him afterwards. He was just scrambling for a plan, but I'm not going to subject myself to voice callouts through this whole process. Just know I preserve differential, I don't reveal any new information, and eventually this Cofagrigus dies. But I will see you guys back for Game 2 because I don't want to watch this part again. So moving into game 2, there's a couple different things I want to consider. Like, the Trick Room mode seems really good if he leads the same thing again. But I sort of want to see what he does to counter the Azumarill Indeedee lead. Leading Scizor again would make me want to lead Arcanine just to be in that position, but I don't think that he does that a second time. So I feel pretty safe doing the same thing again, and then we'll just see how the damage breaks on it. I'm decently comfortable with what I believe will go on here. So, thinking about his team, what could he possibly lead that annoys this? Blastoise has some annoying potential. Blastoise Scizor actually would probably be the most annoying thing, but I think I can still beat that. Obviously, Terrakion Dragapult with beat-up stuff I'm not super scared of, but that's a physical Dragapult that has revealed some attacks, so I don't even know if it's a beat-up set. It's probably like a banded Terrakion or something. I don't know. I feel decent about this matchup, but if he has a way to beat it, he's going to show up this game, and that's really what's important for me because I need the information for game 3 because he's got to pull out the stops this game. So moving into the battle, my plan is exactly the same. Try to get Max Azumarill to do some damage, and he just leads Blastoise Terrakion. So here I have a decision. Do I want to go after the Stoise or the Terrakion? And how do I think they're going to attack me? There are a couple different things I can consider here. One is to guarantee protect the Indeedee, or to guarantee protect the Azumarill with Follow Me Indeedee. Indeedee probably goes down this turn, but Azu maxes and either picks up the KO on Terrakion or comes very close to picking up the KO on Blastoise. The other is to Expanding Force Indeedee, thinking that it's got a chance to survive and see how much damage I can do overall. Or I could protect Indeedee, expecting some combination of spread moves / targeting into Indeedee, and trying to protect it that way. So I almost clicked protect, and in retrospect, that was probably the correct move, because both of these have decently powerful spread moves, but I just wanted to make sure Azumarill was extra safe from something stupid that I didn't foresee. But that does just leave me a little bit soft to what ends up coming out this turn, which is the Rock Slide and Water Spout that he's about to reveal. So Rock Slide comes out, does a decent chunk, Water Spout comes out, and based on the damage into both of them, that's Specs Blastoise, which is going to be pretty annoying. Because I didn't target into the Blastoise, I just had to pick up the KO on Terrakion. If I had targeted into the Blastoise and protected, I'd be in a great position. But as it is, I'm in an average-ish position. We both have a KO, but I've used a turn of Max. He is Specs locked into Water Spout. But the things I have in the back aren't going to be great against Water Spout. The Pashu Berry is going to allow me to survive one pretty comfortably, especially after a Snarl. But if he sends up Dragapult, I can't comfortably Snarl. So there are a lot of potential. There's a lot of potential pitfalls for me here in this position. If I'm okay with just allowing the Water Spout to go off, I could just Heat Wave and Starfall the Blastoise spot. I could Geyser the Scizor spot and Snarl. Honestly, I think probably Heat Waving here is the correct play. Because if he switches into Dragapult and just picks up a weakness policy, then I could have some issues. But I also want to minimize the damage the Specs Blastoise is doing. That's a lot of damage from Bullet Punch, but it was a crit. It doesn't matter in the sense of a KO, but it does matter in putting me in position for what will KO me in the future. So this Blastoise's damage potential is greatly limited at this point in time. I'm going to eat the Pasho Berry, but its HP is a little low and it's at -1. That's fairly negligible on the Azumarill, but again, with the crit Bullet Punch, I'm not in the best position for the late game. I do pick up the KO on Blastoise, and I would have probably preferred the Heat Wave there in retrospect, so I could set up a 3v1 against what I almost can guarantee is going to be this Dragapult. So I have to consider what I believe he's going to do here. He could max Ghost the Azumarill, which makes some degree of sense. He could max Wormwind the Arcanine to lower the attack on the Azumarill, trying to bait a play rough that he believes he survives. And honestly, I think the play there, again, is Heat Wave. I'm just being a little too judicious with the Arcanine in this game. Relying on the power of the Indeedee to pick up a bunch of these KOs. I mean, the Azumarill, obviously, to pick up a bunch of these KOs. But this does make me a little bit nervous at this point. I get an Intimidate off. Like, my thought process here was, I want to intimidate the Scizor to make sure that the Azumarill survives a Bullet Punch. Because if the Azumarill survives and he targets into the Arcanine, which I think there's a chance that he does, then Azumarill has the opportunity to do some damage. But if he double targets the Azumarill, I actually probably lose here, so Heat Wave would have been the better play to try to take out the Scizor, and at least set up a 2v1 opportunity late game. But the double target does come out, and I'm pretty sure that I lose here. This is a very suboptimal... Yeah, it's very suboptimal. There's no way around it, because max Wormwinds will just cripple the damage potential on this Crocodile. He's got the potential to pick up KOs with the Dragapult as well, and I don't want to trigger his weakness policy, so I can't necessarily go for the attacks that I want to go for. Here I'm finally going to try to click Heat Wave, and then I consider Darkest Lariat, but I just know that it won't KO and will trigger weakness policy. But a high horsepower plus a Heat Wave and then a Darkest Lariat has the opportunity to pick up the KO without triggering the weakness policy, and that seems like the best course of action, but I am in a world of hurt here. Yeah, I really need the Indeedee, I mean, not the Indeedee, I keep saying that, the Azumarill to fight this Dragapult effectively. So, without Azu, I kind of just lose in this position. I didn't want to reveal Fire Fang either, but he does just pick up the KO on the Arcanine. And yeah, there's no real way for me to win this game at this point. So I will step away, and I will be right back with a decisive game 3 in this match. You can just watch me let Crocodile die and figure out what information's okay to reveal. I think I probably try to get like a crit Darkest Lariat and him doing something stupid, but it's not worth it. So I will be back for game 3. So going into game 3, I have to decide what my plan is. I know that I played poorly in game 2 and allowed an opening, but he could probably see that the lead there didn't end up being the best against what I brought, so I really don't expect it again. With that in mind, the Terrakion is the only thing that can deny Trick Room at all, except for maybe the Koffingrigus, but he's not bringing that again after game 1. So, if I don't expect a Terrakion lead because I have led Azumarill all 3 games, then the Slowbro lead for Trick Room is pretty free, actually. If I do expect the Terrakion lead, then I want to lead Azumarill. But because of my consistency of leading Azumarill, I don't think he wants to lead Terrakion again into it, so I'm going to go for the Trick Room mode and see if I can get up a free Trick Room. If I do see the Terrakion, though, I'm in a very bad spot, and I've got to figure out a way out of it because I don't want to lose to Rock Slide flinching. And plus, Rock Slide plus Specs Water Spout just has the opportunity to take me out as well, and I don't know if there's a lot that I can do to stop it. So here's hoping that Terrakion doesn't show up. At least that's my mindset going into this game. So looking at the game, Trick Room seems very important with the mons that I've brought, but he does have the Terrakion and the Blastoise, so I'm in a bad position. This is very, very much less than ideal. So my thoughts here are, the most important endgame for me is to eventually be able to get Trick Room up, and losing Slowbro for free here doesn't seem great. Indeed, with the amount of special attack investment in it and what I've seen out of this Terrakion and its relative lack of bulk, could actually just pick up the KO on the Terrakion here, which would be fantastic. And if that's the case, I know Azumarill will take a little bit of damage, but it'll be an okay position for an endgame. And basically I'm just trading a KO on the Terrakion for a bunch of damage. That's if the Indeedee outspeeds the Blastoise. If it doesn't and he just Rock Slides and Water Spouts, there's an issue. So if he's got enough speed on this Blastoise, I've got some problems. But Earthquake instead of Rock Slide to try to deny Trick Room, and that's pretty much ideal because that'll do a lot to Blastoise, weaken this Water Spout, Indeedee survives, Azumarill takes some damage, but not a lot overall, and then I get the Expanding Force for the KO and another chunk on this Blastoise, and I am suddenly very much in this game. If he used Rock Slide there, it would have been very difficult for me to be in this game, but that I'm okay with. Okay, Maractus comes out. Maractus doesn't seem like it's in the best position here. I can launch an Expanding Force for free. This Blastoise, I'm pretty sure Specs locked in, and with that little HP, I don't really care about Water Spout. It'll do a little bit of chip, but it's whatever. I just have to decide what I want my late game to be, and I want bulky Indeedee against what I assume is going to be Dragapult in the back. So how do I bulk it up? I pick up a KO with a Steel Spike. That'll force the Dragapult out early, and then he'll have to fight the Indeedee with a Dragapult while I've still got some max turns left. And that seems pretty ideal to me. If he's able to position around, then I could have some issues, but this Maractus' damage into the... I keep saying Indeedee instead of Azumarill. This Maractus' damage into the Azumarill is going to be negligible. I'm very okay with that. This Water Spout comes out, negligible damage, and Expanding Force will pick up the KO here. So Indeedee's putting in work to pick up some KOs, but it is not the late game for me. This Azu is the late game, and I will get a Steel Spike off into this Maractus. It's not going to do a lot. I might pick up the KO if it doesn't protect there, but the plus defense is what matters more to me than picking up the KO in that situation. So now the Dragapult has to come out, and it has to max, I think. If it doesn't max, then we're in a pretty interesting position, but it could also go for a Phantom Force or a Fly, and if that happens, I don't want to waste too many attacks into that slot. Like, a Steel Spike into the Maractus in that position isn't an awful choice, but Dragapult's also in an interesting decision. He has to choose to max Wormwind the NDD, or to try to max Phantasm the Azumarill, because the other is immune to that. But if he goes for the max Phantasm and I redirect it, it's obviously less than ideal. So Dragapult protects. Okay. That's decent. He's trying to bait out a max Starfall into that slot, trigger weakness policy. I can respect that play a lot. So the Giga Drain comes out. It's not going to do... Well, I mean, it's going to pick up the KO, but it's not going to heal that much. But it probably actually takes the Maractus out of range of the Steel Spike picking up the KO. So there's still two things left on the field, but the NDD is at the Azumarill. Oh boy. The Azumarill is at +2 defense. So bulky Maractus, eats a berry. Now I've got to figure out what my late game win con is. He cannot both deny Trick Room and not just die to a max Starfall. So Slowbro here is a pretty good win con, because Maractus can't stop the Slowbro from getting up Trick Room. And the Dragapult, if it maxes with a Ghost move, I've actually got the Ghost Resist berries, that's going to do negligible damage there. But more importantly, if he somehow does have the damage to KO the Slowbro and prevent Trick Room, he has to eat a max Starfall, which should KO the Dragapult. So my plan here is to get up Trick Room and then go from there. And he's probably thinking through a few different options here, and this is probably his best one. So I'm going to Starfall into nothing. Giga Drain's going to come off, do a chunk, and even at +2 defense, because my max is ending next turn, I don't know if Azumarill survives a Phantasm. And now the Dragapult is going last, so it gets a full turn of immunity next turn. So basically the Dragapult just bought 2 turns of immunity, including the first turn of Trick Room. So, very clever play, I like it. Slowbro will get a Sludge Bomb off pretty cleanly. And then at this point, I have to think, if this is coming into Azumarill, there's a chance that it takes it out from here, and I don't want that. So I think clicking Dig here to get the Azumarill immune to the Phantom Force is actually correct, so I get my 1 turn of immunity to counter his 2 turns of immunity. That could also be very, very wrong, because then Dig hits him next turn instead of a Play Rough, but I don't want to hit him with a Play Rough next turn, because he will be maxing next turn. I'm going to chip him down, make sure I don't trigger the weakness policy, then KO him. Okay, so Slowbro survives. And now, I know if I get the Delmise out here, it's a very good situation for me, because he still has the weakness policy. That's another reason why I can't trigger the weakness policy. If I wasn't explaining this, it's not for the damage output as much as the Delmise is Poltergeist. So I need him to have an item so I'm able to deal damage to him in the late game. So with that in mind, I'm just going to try and chip him down a bit with Slowbro and and Azumarill, understanding that he's going to be maxing here. And he gets basically his choice of what he wants to take out. And then I will have 2 turns of Trick Room left after this that I will be launching attacks into him both turns. And hopefully that's enough to pick up the KO. He'll actually be able to protect one of them. If he gets a double protect, there's a chance he wins. But now Dragapult's in range of everything. I don't actually know if it's in range of the Azumarill anymore because of that dropped attack, but it is in range of the Delmise. So in comes the Delmise. I have to Poltergeist to hit him with the weakness policy. And he's going to max guard one of these 2 turns. It doesn't really matter which. He probably should go for a double. Because if he gets the double, I think... No. If he gets the double, he still has to hope for a miss. But that's it. That's his out. It's a 3%er, but he's got to go for it. Because if I launch 2 attacks here, I guess he could hope for a miss here and then go for a single protect, which I could see being better. But it would have to be this Poltergeist that misses, and it doesn't. So Delmise is able to pick up the KO, and that'll be the end of the set. Good games. Glad to get my first win on the board in the league. Looking forward to the next few weeks moving forward, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.